final prayer and we'll commence our meeting. Chuck, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you please bow our heads? Dear Heavenly Father, please shine your grace upon us. Help us to make good and wise decisions. Help to keep our meeting peaceful and cordial, and please protect us as we all travel home. In your name we pray. Amen. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody here to the May 2nd, 2017 Wells County Council meeting. We have a pretty short meeting here, I think, at least as far as on the agenda here. But I guess the first thing, we have the minutes. Did everybody receive the minutes from the April meeting? Was there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, do we have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
We got a second. All in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. All right, the next thing we have is transfers. I assume everybody received the transfers from that. Looks like we have from the prosecutor's office, we have from professional consultation, we have $339 going over to law books for $339. In the circuit court, we have office supplies for $1,500 being moved over to the juvenile chin services for $1,500. Is there any questions or any concerns over the transfers? I guess if not, do we have a motion to accept the transfers?
I'll move to approve both transfers.
We have a motion. Second. We have a second. All in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Alrighty, I guess there's no additional appropriations, so we have appointments. Monty, if you'd like to step on it.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
We have 89 inmates today, 6 are DOC and 24 are F6 DOC. You have our monthly report. The only thing is Karen had to refigure some things on our DOC per diem, so that's not in there tonight. We'll have it funded next month. We'll have both of them in. That's all I have.
Any questions from Monty? Pretty clear. All right, thanks, Monty.
Thank you, Monty.
Next on the agenda is the EMA director, Matt. How do you pronounce Favory. And Rick, help me out on your last name. Plaskis. Okay, you guys like to step forward? Did everybody receive that letter? Okay. Kind of give us a little heads up here. What?
Trying to get it to you guys sooner.
Sure. No, that's fine.
Back and forth with Todd wrenches along some figures, so
Sure.
wanted to make sure everything was correct before I brought it to your attention.
Certainly.
Okay.
Go ahead and explain what you like.
Well, I think the letter kind of sums it up pretty well. I've been in the job now going on 6 weeks, and there's been several occasions where a vehicle would be pertinent. Even if there weren't any as of yet, a vehicle for the emergency management office is, in my view, a necessity. A good example would be last Thursday I responded out to 1100 South and State Road 1. We had a chemical spill. A farmer spilled over 500 gallons of organic fertilizer with herbicides and pesticides in it. Most people, when we got out there, the farmer was pretty perplexed as to why he needed to clean it up, because it was just fertilizer. But when you've got 500 gallons pooling on the side of State Road 1 and it's turning State Road 1 white, we have a problem. So when I originally got that call from the 911 dispatch center saying that the Nottingham Fire Department requested me out there, which is perfect, that's exactly what we're looking for, I put a call into the Indianapolis spill line for hazardous materials, got the ball rolling on that. But from where I live on the other side of Walmart to get out to 1100, I had to stop in here, get a bag from the office with all the materials that I needed, and then get out there. So it took me, I wouldn't say wasted, but it took me a little extra time getting out there to where if we had a vehicle, I could have a bag in the vehicle ready to go, much like first responders. And I know we're not technically first responders in the state's eyes or the county's eyes, but we work hand in hand with first responders. And we currently have in our budget $1,000 a year for travel expenses, and I could easily see, working with the budget for next year, that money could go toward, you know, the servicing or the fuel for a county vehicle that we would have. I'm not pushing for necessarily a take-home vehicle for myself. It would be something that would just be a fixture out here that if we had a call, it would be get in, spin the wheels, and head out to wherever we're needed. And it doesn't necessarily just stay in the EMA lane. That also crosses over into the LAPC world as well. Because what we did like last Thursday, another great example of that, yes, that's the EMA's realm. That's what we do dealing with IDHS and the hazardous materials. But hazardous materials crosses right over into LAPC's lane as well. So it would kind of, you know, the vehicle would serve a dual purpose for the office, seeing as how Rick is the vice chair of LAPC, I'm a member of LAPC, and then for the EMA as well, you know. And I did as much homework as humanly possible, you know, being new on the job, trying to learn the ins and outs of Wells County and, you know, IDHS at the same time down in Indianapolis. So I asked around, and I ended up being pointed toward Sheriff Fisher, talked to him, and he told me, you know, in my opinion, the stars kind of aligned up pretty well. He got rid of 2 vehicles down there at Family Ford. So I got in contact with Todd Rimchisel and just kind of, you know, wrapped everything up yesterday, went down and had a face-to-face meet with him, and he's saying that it's looking around $3,500 to be able to purchase that vehicle back. Now, I don't know how everything works. I'm not going to pretend to sit here and know how the ins and outs of it. I know I don't have that in my budget right now. I know that I'm learning my budget, and next year I'm going to make some changes to it if possible. But I'm basically just coming in and hopefully painting a good enough picture to show you the necessity. And I've been chanting it to Rick since I got on board that we have to be relevant. I won't speak for the past on anything, but from the day I got hired moving forward, my goal is to make the EMA in Wells County a relevant agency, relevant to the state, relevant to the fire department, the police department, the sheriff's department, everybody around here. So I'm trying to build those relationships within the county right now. I think things are going great so far, but every turn I make talking to some new folks, like, you know, I got the fire department saying, well, if we go somewhere and we need to get you, we'll send a guy out to pick you up. And it's like, well, okay, I appreciate that, you know, the extended hand of help, but I think that there's a way around that to where we can be, you know, our own transportation means as well. So, like I said,
Excuse me, how's that worked in the past? Has it just been your personal vehicle that you
yes,
go on
and
those
to be
runs?
honest, I don't know how many times
We just
that's
pay mileage?
happened. You know, no, we generally don't do mileage. Like since the rain started this week, we've been out monitoring the river levels. I'm not going to turn in mileage for driving down River Road and going out to Zanesville and checking that creek down there that notoriously floods and things like that. I only file mileage so far since I've been here for things that take me. Like we've been to Elkhart for a National Weather Service convention that they had. Been down to Indianapolis to visit those folks down there in the IDHS office and visit their EOC. Those are the things that I see myself claiming. I wouldn't claim local mileage. I'm assuming I could if I'm using my own vehicle. But currently I don't do it because it just...
If you had that vehicle, that would be the one you'd be doing these shorter runs with?
Most certainly. Yes. That would be the plan.
So mostly here within the county, basically, or a few trips here or there to Fort Wayne or whatever.
Right.
For your
So
meetings
our
and things.
district meetings are generally up in Fort Wayne, and then I believe once a quarter they do something in one of the other counties, and we would take that vehicle. That would be the plan.
By the way, Matt, I appreciate you coming in and doing the way you're doing it, because it helps all us council members to, you know, instead of an additional appropriation coming to us with just a quick letter, it's nice for something like this that you come ahead and.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And it's my opportunity to put a face with the names.
This
I know
way,
I've
if there's
seen
a
few of you
question.
guys
you know,
around,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's, yeah. If you say no, at least I get to shake all your hands and you know who I am. So that's how I'm viewing it.
I don't know, I need to ask another question. You said that you had to stop here to get a bag to go to that scene?
Yes.
But if you had a bag in your car now, why is that? Could you have kept a bag?
I could have,
Do you
yes.
keep a bag? So
I do not.
I don't see the time savings that you're talking about.
Right.
In your example.
I don't keep it in my car just because, like, we have an expensive camera in the office that we would use, and we have, measuring devices and things like that, some gloves and stuff. And I've got 4 kids that I coach 3 baseball teams in Aussie and in Uniondale. I'm not putting that in the back of my car. Next thing you know, my 4-year-old's taking some pretty high-class photos of people.
Good point.
But I very well could, and you're right. I could throw it in my car and have it there.
Matt, what kind of mileage is, I know these have pretty high miles on them typically when Monty's trading them in, or they're...
So there's 2 Crown Victorias that are sitting at Family Ford right now. One of them, Todd Rimchisel said he can't sell me because it has an ABS issue. The front driver's side brake just locks up on it. So, but the other one it's sitting around 139,000 miles, I believe. I talked to Sheriff Fisher before the meeting started. He said he believes it's a 2011 or 2012. It's in very good condition. It's got some miles on it, but it's, it was used as a county sheriff's vehicle, so I'm sure that's seen every corner of Wells County so far. But so I believe it's an 11 or 12 year model, and it's at about 139,000 miles.
Because basically, Community Corrections does a similar thing. They take the cars back, and then they just maintain it.
And that's
from
where
there
I got
on
a lot of my,
information.
hey, you might want to try this, with give yourself a vehicle. So.
Do we know what we got for those in the sheriff's department for a trade-in?
That's about what we're getting as a trade. I think that's what we get, around
Todd
3,000.
Rimchisel told me 35 would be break even, but he would work with me at 3,000. But he would have to work some numbers around to try to cover Sheriff Fisher's end on that buyback deal. Because I guess I'm not going to pretend how it works. I know how it works, but he tried to explain it.
How we did it in the past is that we just gave more money to the sheriff in his budget, because he didn't get that allowance when he traded it in. But we're just shifting it a different way. If we did it this way, it's just shifting it a different way.
And this way too, I think, is a little bit better because say you guys, if I was here last month and we knew that Sheriff Fisher was trading them in, it would literally be him probably just dropping it off to me. At least this way, they've already ran through it. That car's got new tires on it. That car's brakes have been inspected. The engine's been inspected. It's got a brand new oil change on it. So at least it's been run through his used car department.
So where does that car sit? Do you take it the whole time, or does it sit here and then you guys use it when you need it? Or
so the plan would be, I don't know the rules of a take-home vehicle. I know that it was brought up at the last council meeting, or commissioners meeting, but
we're working on a policy right now.
if it's something that I could use as a take-home vehicle, I think that would be ideal. But if it's something to where the policy is where I don't qualify as an entity within the county that's allowed to do so, then it'll sit here and I'd have to come here regardless. So I guess
it'd just save you time if you didn't have to come here to go. If you were going north.
Most certainly.
Yeah.
So I guess if I wasn't allowed to be part of the take-home vehicle entities, then it really wouldn't do me any good because I'd have to come here anyways.
Is that a commissioner decision?
It could be a take-home vehicle either way. It just depends on whether you qualify to have to pay fringe on it or not. The fringe benefit for the IRS
Right.
qualification, and I have to read that every time to see,
Okay.
and for emergency, I'm not sure,
Right.
so I'd have to check. But if that's the case, it is $3 a day, I believe. But don't quote me on that. But I think that's what it is.
I was going to say, I know you're relatively new to the position, but do you have a number of after-hour calls that you're going on, or?
In the 5 weeks, going on 6 weeks next Monday that I've been here, I'm on 2 so far.
Okay.
So I went out to, Rick and I did my 4th day on the job, actually. We had 2 funnel clouds spotted out in Nottingham, and then this chemical spill so far.
Okay.
And then just the in and around travel with monitoring the river and all that kind of stuff.
Which makes sense. Okay.
Right.
What would it cost to equip this vehicle, not just the purchase of it, but then obviously operations, and then what
So-
would be in the vehicle in addition to?
An 800 series radio, which here in the next few weeks you guys will see one mounted in here as our EOC radio. I've been working that. But I got that radio from Adam over at the 911 dispatch center over there. He has another one that they just pulled out of a car at Bluffton Police Department that is mine whenever I want it. We were originally going to have 2 set up in here. There's no need, so if I were to get a vehicle, the equipment is over there. All I have to do is take it to Adam and it's installed. Because you can see inside the car that they just turned into a Family Ford, all the mounting bracket, you can see where they just lifted everything out, and all we would have to do is redo the work and put it right back in. So, as far as purchasing things to equip it with a radio, $0. Everything already exists within the county.
And within that line item of the, just as a guess, of the $1,000, has that been touched much, do you think, at this point?
I don't know what the balance of it is.
Yeah, I
right
mean, I'm
now.
just thinking, you know, if we did go
I'm
forward
probably
and
under
get your car,
700.
then obviously you're gonna have fuel, you're gonna have, you know,
Right.
these other, if that would be enough to cover you for the year, obviously.
Currently, I'm under 700. I can
Okay.
almost guarantee that because we've filed quite a few claims already since I've been here. With Wayne sticking on those 2 extra weeks with me, he filed a few $100s worth of claims showing me everywhere. And then Rick and I did that conference last week up in Elkhart.
So chances are the purchase of the vehicle wouldn't be enough to cover you for the year, you think, or, I mean, you know, there's always an
With what's
unforeseen
left?
mechanical, yeah, for basically fuel and stuff. but-
I think for sure that 1,000 would cover me through the rest of the year because
I mean, but your, yeah, the
What's left,
700 or whatever would be enough to cover you.
I believe so.
Hopefully,
Yes.
Or you possibly have something in your budget you could transfer if you did run low at the end of the year.
There's quite
or
a few
something.
things in my budget
Yeah.
that when I first got in, I
Yeah,
scratched
you
my
could
head about
probably.
that I could.
Yeah.
So you got some room to.
I don't need $300.
That's
for
all I'm
printer
thinking
paper.
of, to have enough to cover your car and your expenses with it.
Right.
Has there been any issues with any vandalism or anything else? If it's something sitting out here in the parking lot, I haven't heard anything. I mean, if it was to sit here, ready to go, obviously you wouldn't have anything expensive in it. You'd want to
Right.
have it indoors here, but, you know, I don't know, I'm not here in Bluffton, so I don't know if there's any problems with anything that's ever been.
We
sitting
haven't had,
there.
I know that probation has a vehicle that they have in the parking lot, but everybody else's vehicles, all the rest of the surveyor, the community corrections, the highway supervisor, and they're all take-home vehicles, so they all have theirs, so they're all, you know, if they have to go out on call.
Right.
So,
Any other questions from any other council members? or- I mean, I personally don't see a problem here. I think it's a pretty inexpensive way to do this. You know, it would be different if you were coming with wanting a brand new vehicle. I think, you know, we could probably,
Well, I have my eye.
you know, $25,000 bill, yeah. But,
And I'm in agreement with that, Todd.
yeah, I mean, the way it stands right now, I mean, obviously you'd have to go through the process of an additional appropriation here.
right, yeah, he
To-
doesn't have money in his budget, so that was, when we talked about it, that's what his plan was, to come and explain it to you at this
Yeah.
meeting, and then put the additional appropriation through for the next.
And I'm not sure I worded that correctly at the.
No, you're fine. I mean, I think at this point, we could take a vote, go ahead and take a motion, and if we want to go forward with it, that way at least you could let Rim Chisel know that we are, you know, committed to this, and
Okay.
then the process would have to catch the
Right.
next meeting for the actual
Absolutely.
monies on it, so. I guess we have a motion to accept the, what would be up to $3,500 for the purchase of a vehicle.
Before we do that, Todd, what will we do when this car wears out? Try to do the same thing?
Well,
Get
hopefully,
a used
next
one
year,
from
we would work
sheriff,
with the
or-
sheriff, because the sheriff trades every year.
Right.
And,
this is the last year for the Crown Victorias. Next year would be Explorers and Tauruses, which the Explorers, they can resell. That's going to be too high, I know.
Yeah.
Being realistic, we're looking at 15,000,
but we could
16,000.
look at budget-wise a year in advance, because it could be the same thing, that, you know, we would just have to increase the sheriff's budget to offset what he could got in a trade-in, if he was gonna trade it down to one of the other
And
departments.
catch them before they go through.
Yeah,
yeah.
because if
Right.
one was, you know, getting 200 miles, you know, and you're talking, you know, down at budget time, you'd say, you know, hey, we're going to need to look at a new vehicle in the next budget year, and then we would work it out during that budget cycle, most likely, and do it the
It
following year.
doesn't sound like this one's gonna get a whole ton of miles every year.
Right, so it could be several years before it's needed.
Yeah, I would think that
Yeah.
it's down the line.
It's just gonna be
At least we gotta
communicating with
think
the
about
sheriff's office.
What's next?
And I guess if there was a major mechanical, you don't want to go spend any more money on them. You know what the vehicle's worth. You know, we still have the fallback onto the mileage to get us by to whatever we need, you know, to fill the gap there.
Right.
So we'd work there. So, I guess at this stage, do we have a motion to go up to $3,500 for approval of vehicle for AD or EMA?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second. Guess all in favor signify by raising your hand.
I will abstain.
Okay. opposed the same, I guess we have no opposition to it. So I guess at this stage, we're on board to have you go ahead and go forward with that. And again, you'll have to go through the motions with the additional appropriation to make it finalized. So at least at this stage, you can let, Todd know that Jim Chisel, that we're on board with this. So.
I appreciate your time.
Certainly,
Thanks
appreciate
a lot,
you.
Rick. Thanks a lot, Matt. Glad to have you on board.
I'm working with one of the commissioners right now. I've sent them some information to help. I've got a draft done.
Okay.
But there's just some issues. We've sent it out to everybody that currently has take-home vehicles. They give some input. So we're just going through that input, trying to get
So
it
are
out.
we
Who
revising
could-
an old one, or is this brand new?
It's revised. Right now, we really don't have one. We just have a vehicle policy, but it doesn't, it's nothing that goes into take-home vehicles. So we
Okay.
desperately needed something, some kind of policy. And this policy would be adopted by both the commissioners and the council. So, they will adopt it, then it will come before your board also for you to adopt.
I just have a little sensitivity on the take-home vehicles for some things. That'd be my little caveat there. We didn't, I don't know if you were thinking the same way, Jim, but I'm just thinking in terms of take-home vehicles are different in a sense. As I said, emergencies are hard to identify when they'll happen, and
Right.
in some cases you could have none for weeks. But I guess that's just my first thought. But
So is there going to be a standard written into it as far as what's the fringe benefit percent via the IRS as far as what's
That's set by
considered personal
IRS.
use?
Yeah, that's set
So,
by
I mean, that's something you're gonna
IRS.
have to-
Yeah. Mhm. So anybody basically that takes a vehicle
Right.
home has to pay the fringe
Some.
for it,
Right.
except for law enforcement vehicles, and that qualifies as somebody that can serve warrants or arrest people. That's who they say as
Right.
exempt from that.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's something to do with fire and all. There's just, that's why I said I couldn't really answer for sure on his. I'd
Yeah,
have to
it's a
look for an
different world,
EMA
yeah.
director. Does he fall under that exception? That if he did take home vehicle, he would have to pay the fringe. But everybody else, they do pay fringe on the vehicle. So and it's added to their
Okay.
W-2s.
It's kind of a wait and see what the commissioners come up with.
Okay.
All right, I guess we're down to miscellaneous business. Yeah,
RSD?
That's the only other thing I have.
Okay, I don't know if you had something else.
Yep, that's
All
it.
right, well, here we are with the RSD position. We went through and did some advertising, and I think I emailed everybody that unfortunately nobody stepped up on the applications through the advertising process. So here we are. I guess we're looking at a nomination for the RSD board, and we had an individual that
I did say that I would be willing to serve on that board, yes. So
So I guess at this stage, with that being known, the nominee. Second, all right.
Quick.
Do we have any other volunteers?
yeah, is there somebody else that wanted to do it? By all means, they are more than welcome to come on board.
Twice.
Well, we probably should have somebody
Make a nomination.
Make a
And I would
All right,
like
I'll make the motion.
to nominate,
And I will second it.
and we have the second. With that in mind, we have a motion, or nomination for a motion, we have a second. All in favor signify by raising your hand. Motion carries. So we've got that
Just
solved.
trying to solve a problem. So,
Congratulations. No, we appreciate that, because it was,
Yeah.
it's a very.
well, it's a serious matter,
Yes, it
and I
is.
don't
It
think
really
it's
is.
something that can just go
Yep.
without attention.
Yep,
So
most definitely.
it's only going to be more complicated as time goes forward. So
It's our understanding that board might be filled now, correct?
It should be, at this stage.
We think that board is filled now.
Phil,
Yes.
with Thomas Bansky.
Yes.
And Lee and myself and
Blake,
Blake. and-
yep.
Yep.
So hopefully. we'll-
Get to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, just to make sure, that is a 4-year term, right?
Yes.
Okay, at this stage, so I guess, yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
but if someone steps forward and wants to take my spot,
We can always, we can always reevaluate.
we can
Absolutely.
reevaluate.
Okay, I guess that being said, we don't have any other thing on the agenda here, so. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a motion, have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by raising your hand. Motion carries. Make sure everybody sticks around here so we get everybody, get everything signed.